Hi everyone, welcome to this week's review. So we have three pretty exciting games. They're all decided in the middle game. I took a quick look. So I'll focus on a few themes for each game. And if anybody in the audience have any questions, feel free to just interrupt me anytime. So relatively straightforward opening. One small thing I'll note is white a tenuki after playing Atari, but we should really think of this as a combo meal. White has to take gote, either with descending or in some cases you want to play the tiger's mouth. Without another follow-up move, this Atari is not a great exchange. So the way for black to punish is just to hane here. And notice there's some liberty shortage. If white blocks, black can cut on the outside, and notice the three stones are in danger. So keep in mind of the order of move. Black wants to hane first before making the cut. Because if black just cuts first, this is a bad exchange. When black hane here, white can capture. So black doesn't profit as much in this situation because white gets to capture a stone. So when black just hane, white can tiger's mouth. This is probably the best result for both sides. And the reason why Atari is bad right now is if white just Hanuki like this, when black hane, black can block very easily. So when black makes this double hane, white can ignore and take the corner instead. So in this case, this Atari becomes a very bad exchange because white can't really save the O2 stone. But actually white can tenuki or Atari here first. And notice the O2 stone is not vital because white can cut at 04 or this 5 move instead. So just keep that in mind. It's a pretty much a basic Joseki follow-up. Okay, so black pushed in the game. Unfortunately, black didn't catch the vital point at the hane. It's very big actually. Okay, so white fixed in the end. So this corner overall is about even. Neither side really lost anything. Okay, so now the focus of the game shifted to the middle. Black obviously wants to develop the moyo, but notice there are two sides, left and right. The left side is clearly bigger, so black's focus should be on the left side. And keep in mind, white already spent a move in the bottom right corner. So if black just keep responding locally, white is definitely gaining the advantage because it's like white keeps making good exchanges locally. Black is not getting as much as white. So the focus should be on the bottom left corner. There are several follow-ups. I would say in this case, maybe black can just choose a simple one like this. And then expand to the center. Maybe connect. So this is one way, very straightforward. This maximizes the points on the side while still expanding to the center a little bit. If black wants to completely give up the side or not make these exchange, black can also play here or play here directly. My thought process is that right now it's hard for black to make, let's say, a 50-point moyo in the center. So it's probably better to just take some profit and control the side like this. So this expansion is the right idea, but the wrong direction. Okay, so white hane here. I would say it's a little bit slightly premature, but it's still a fine move. So notice after this exchange, white is definitely way ahead in territory. Black didn't really profit much in the center or on the right side, but now white has two very solid corners. Okay, so black finally come back to the left side. It's a good direction. But here notice the Keima is actually gote. And right now blocking doesn't give black a lot of points. Right, white can still live in the corner. In this case, the bottom side is very barren. Neither side can make a lot of territory. So black's focus should be focusing on the center. So if black wants to expand, maybe bump once, and then seek to connect the whole entire group. Or I'll actually prefer another move in the center. Because if black just get gote in the bottom, white can take sente and reduce the left side. And in a shape like this, it's very hard to kill an invasion stone. So as long as white doesn't do some sort of deep invasion, something in the center, this will be fairly easy for white to manage. Now, if black can only sustain territory, something like this, then we can't say black got much from the expansion in the bottom. So black is probably better off just playing a move on the 6th line or maybe even 7th line and get the territory on the side. In this shape, it would be pretty hard for white to come in here later. So most of this will become territory. Okay, so black responded. I think it's very important in Moyo games to think about the focus. If the focus is Moyo, then responding to a lot of local moves like this is not very favorable. So I think black can probably see jump will be a very big move and another move view. So at anywhere expanding the left side, this will be pretty viable. So responding on the top is definitely slow locally. And from white's perspective, this Hane makes a similar mistake. White's corner is completely alive. Even if black descent is not even completely sente. This is kind of big, but this is still very early in the game. So we shouldn't think too much about, let's say 10-point endgames at this stage. This will be a different story if the corner is very weak or if the bottom side is very big, then maybe the Hane would be viable right now. But clearly the center is a focus. So both sides should really try to get sente and come back to the important part of the game. So why try to do a reduction? I think it does basically more harm than good because these exchanges also weaken the top right. So for example, black can now invade here. And then this will make a very easy connection. Now the corner is also not completely safe, right? There's a wedge at Q16. So maybe white has to defend. And now the corners is really not in a good shape. So shape-wise, the attach is good actually. White just needs to extend. It's important to keep in mind that white has 4 corners. So it's really fine for black to get some territory on the side. So through black getting territory, white can make pretty good beneficial exchanges for endgame. For example, if black connects here, white can maybe Hane. If black blocks, white can get a nice Atari. If black bumps, then white already gained another soul in the center. So this is relatively neutral. If white doesn't want to do this, later there's always a clamp Aji. So white can keep turning and strengthening the center. As soon as this side is strong, it's hard for black to make a lot of territory on the left. Another way is white can treat this as some sente exchange because white can also basically white here in sente. This group is pretty strong. White can go back to reducing the left side. If the territory for black is confined mostly to the 4th line, white will definitely have more territory because white has 4 corners. It's kind of deceptive. A lot of Q players probably can't count how many points there are for in black's territory. It just always looked big. It always looked bigger than it actually is because with territory on the side, white can always reduce from both ends. Whereas white's corner, it most likely will expand because white can still expand a little bit to the side. And for example, in the bottom left corner, this Hane connect will be huge later. Black is not super thick in the center, so there's a climb Aji. At some point, black will probably make another move here, or even if black jump in the center, both sides, this works for both shapes. White can make the Hane push exchange. So notice how small the side actually end up being. This is 3 lines, so this is only 9 points, plus here, maybe another 9, so 20 something. And then over here is probably similar, 10, 15, even if you come to this line, is barely 20 points. And this corner, one corner is almost 20 points already. This is 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So if white gets another Kema, this corner is as big as the entire side. And white still has 3 more corners. And through getting territory, white can probably make a little bit in the center as well. So white really doesn't have to worry much about black's territory on the side, as long as the center is in control. So what white doesn't want is for one side to get attacked, or black can make let black get a very big framework in the center, let's say 30 points or something in the center. That would be bad. But as long as white can press black to the side, white is in good shape. Oh. Okay, so there's some shape issues here because now white has some liberty shortage. So I'll fast forward a little bit to, okay, so here, through attacking, black made several empty triangles. So this is important to keep in mind. In double digit queue to single digit queue, even some low down players, very tempted to make some empty triangle. Sometimes it does work, but it just you need a very good justification for it compared to the standard move. Standard move will be simply to connect here. And actually even the Atari is probably Ajikeshi, or it's just an unnecessary exchange. Black can just extend, white will extend. And at this point, we can see this move is not ideally placed. Black can just extend right here. And now black shape is very complete. So this is a strong shape. Another thing I want to just make sure everyone keep in mind is black doesn't have to fight here. If the focus is really in the center, another strategy to consider is just to sacrifice the bottom. I think in this case, black probably does want to save the stone, but before we save that stone and start the fight, I think we have to consider whether we need to save it. So let's say in this example, maybe, so black sacrifice 10, 15 point bottom, and black can definitely profit a lot in the center. Maybe after this exchange, black can severely attack this group. So this is definitely one strategy we should keep in mind. In a lot of cases, sacrificing 10, 15 points in the bottom for a giant wall in the center will be a very good trade for black. So could definitely consider that possibility. Okay, so unfortunately white missed out also on the most important part. White just took an endgame here. I'm not super sure why this move was played right now, because the center is still very weak. Maybe white just feels behind in territory, or white very keen on getting all the corner endgame. But right now white has one weak group and another weak group, so the key is definitely to settle both and connect both of them. That would be the ideal situation. AI recommend the two space jump, but any move along the center that can connect the two groups will be good. Okay, so block, I would say maybe if black lost the game, this will be the losing move, because black's focus has to be attacking. Black didn't get much corner territory early on, so the only way for black to win is to do something in the center. Now white has successfully reduced both sides, so without killing something or a massive profit in the center, black definitely cannot compete. So blocking is kind of like a slow death. This move doesn't do anything. It's not even the biggest endgame. So yeah, I think as people progress through single digit queue to down level player, we have to think more critically and avoid this type of mistake. Because against a stronger player, if your moves are slow like this, respond to everything, you will not find many chances to control the game. Okay, so black finally tried to start a fight. This is good. Now this is white's turn of making an empty triangle. So after this, these stones have liberty shortage. And also this put these two stones in danger. Actually, white doesn't have to make this exchange at all. White can, yeah, so in the game white started a strange fight here. White can just try to escape toward the center. Just try to save the group. So let's say white makes another move. Atari. White can maybe try to seal or some squeeze with this cap, but let's say white just extends. This stone is not vital. White can sacrifice at any time. It's only 2 points. So by Ataring here, white is connecting to an even weaker stone, and that caused the whole group to be in danger. Okay, so maybe black panic a little bit here. Black just has to keep taking away the liberty, and black will be fine. So notice white has some connection issues here. If black just keep pushing, this group can get cut. So black just needs to turn, actually. In the game, black Hane, and this resulted in the trade. So white actually came out okay. The right side definitely suffered a lot, but black made this massive empty triangle yet again. It's important for black to avoid that. So that's actually not necessary. Black can just continue without that move. And especially turning here, because this turn destroy white's eye shape locally, and also eliminate some of the liberties. So white's liberty is very tight. If black just push directly, black is already up 1 liberty. So here I want to mention the last thing. Actually, white just resigned soon after, so there's nothing much in the game. But I want to talk about why the empty triangle is so damaging for black. So if black just try to capture these zones, white will probably extend here. And let's say black will capture it. This is still not a bad move. At this point, maybe white blocks. This is still somewhat valuable. At this point, black will get sente, but in the game, black spent another move by wedging here. And that's completely gote. So empty triangles oftentimes are like passing a move in the middle of a fight. It's not quite as bad as passing. It does do something, but you lose massive initiative when sente is vitally important in an intense fight. So that's why empty triangles really set us back a lot in our game. So this is the very first rule. One of the very first rules we learned, and this is definitely a rule we should all remember. Yeah, and white's losing move is extending the bottom. It's the same mistake as the b3 extension. It has no implication to life and death. It's just an endgame, and it's not even a huge endgame. At least b3 was reasonably large. This move is not urgent at all. Even bigger endgames like Hane or K might still exist, or even actually protecting the weakness on the right. But of course, the center is not settled yet. So white should definitely protect the cutting point, maybe a tiger's mouth, and later try to slowly save some of the stones in the middle. So of course, black came out to here, and then white was not able to save the center. So this was the last move. I think if white continue fighting here, the game would still be uncertain. Even though black captured many stones, a lot of this was inside black's territory anyway. So most of the right side was in black's territory. So black didn't gain that kind of outside advantage that will guarantee a win. If black should make a few more mistakes later, white can still come back to the game. Yeah, so score estimate says black is up about 11 points, which is definitely an advantage, but this is still very early in endgame. A lot of things can still happen, and white just has to really stay calm here and stay focused in the game, I would say. So this is an unfortunate mistake, and black was finally able to seal the deal. After all of this died, this entire group, this entire box wasn't supposed to die. Now most of this will become black's territory. So that made a huge difference. Yeah, so with that, I'll wrap up this game and move on to the other 2 matches.
Thanks for the review.
Yeah, any question? Were you one of the players?
I was. I thought it was going to be at the end of the hour, right? So I'll have to go back and
Oh,
watch
sure.
the
Is there any
recording
part
again.
where you have questions?
No, I appreciate what you said about the
Okay.
empty triangle and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning I went over some opening stuff. Make sure you play in the right direction. Okay, so this is opening. Top left, slightly unusual with the 2-space extension and the early attach Hane, but it's doesn't make a huge difference. First thing I'll note is this move is slow. When we make this a 2-space extension, we're basically saying we're okay to leave some weakness in the corner. The goal is to increase efficiency and build a moyo on the side. So if we really care about the corner territory, you should just play the K-mite enclosure. If you're playing a 2-space enclosure, you have to be comfortable with some Aji in the corner. So you shouldn't come back to fixing it until much later in the game. So that's a big concept to remember. Okay, so now black made these exchange. It's good for black. It's like the last game, except white at target here. White can actually block. So this will be the typical Joseki. And in this case, the synergy slightly favors white because notice black turned to the upper side and ended up in gote, but the upper side is not that big. White can reduce very easily. So black is better off developing the right side instead. Yeah, but in the game, white chose the upper side and gave out the corner. So black obtained the more valuable portion of the board. So notice now black can greatly reduce the corner, and now white has gote. So white could have gotten sente with blocking S18 instead. Okay, so this is good. Black made a side enclosure. I think AI may be recommending a slightly different positioning or maybe attacking the bottom first. But in any case, this direction is correct. White's invasion here will definitely be premature. So a big thing to remember when invading is timing. And of course, the positioning matters too. So in terms of timing, the board is still pretty open. White can still make some territory on the left. And most importantly, there's still a weak group in the bottom. So if black invades too early, like now, like in the game, black can mount a very successful attack. So before attacking, we should consider settling our weak groups here first. So there's obviously a weak group in the bottom. Maybe white can try to make some good exchanges and strengthen the bottom. For example, Peep and Kosumi. So now black is not alive. One of the worst things for Moyo is a weak group elsewhere on the board. So if white can make sure this group is not alive, it will be very hard for black to expand the right side territory. So that's why this shape is, this move is very valuable. And also maybe there's some Aji white can play in this corner. So I would say white should start off by attacking this group. So this creates a very solid base. Now, even if black wants to expand, white can compete at least by also expanding the left side. And later, even if black makes another move, there's still definitely some Aji left. So there's no rush to invading right now. Okay, so this attacking sequence is great. Maybe black can consider a type of shoulder hit a little earlier, so this can create a nicer seal. But black, definitely this is like a textbook dual attack, so this is a good shape. And black executed really well here. Here, probably have to be careful about the shape. When black just extends here, white can give up the stone potentially and just turn here. Now it's harder for black to continue the attack. So I would say black has to keep up the pressure, maybe attach here, or through attaching once, and then let's see. I think this move works. So the key thing is to separate the two sides, the two groups. Extending here gives white a chance to connect easily. Okay, so in the game, white didn't quite play out like that, so it works out. Here, black should just block. The focus in the middle, even if white takes a little profit here, it probably wouldn't matter if this entire center dies. So in fact, black can even try to commit more by double hane and sacrificing more stones. So now with all of this investment, black can probably kill this entire group. So maybe white will kill the corner, but I think this pales in comparison to what black gets. So consider a strategy like that. Yeah, white's downfall in the game really is with this sequence. White missed the sente cut. White is actually alive in the bottom. So the cut creates two weaknesses for black. There's a wedge weakness here, so black has to fix. And even white connects, there's still a little bit of Aji. And most importantly, there's a cut at J5. So without fixing this cut, black can't really continue to attack. So black has to fix. And white can save this group. In terms of the bottom, black can't connect. White can make a Seki here. So white is alive. This is not a problem. In the game, white chose to start a Ko here. but is really light for black. And if white loses this ko, the entire side group dies. So it's like white pass a stone, just start a ko for very little profit. Yeah, so this is a great sequence for black. Okay, now I think black has many options. Black already profited by cutting here. I think it's be good just to treat this sequence as some beneficial exchange and just capture. Now I think it will be much harder for white to find ko threats. There is some ko threat with the wedge or Atari, but these are all bad ko threats. These lose the white points. So black can capture once just to see how white will respond. And locally here, I think black can probably just capture one side. So the corner is still alive. If white tries to seal, black can live. If white tries to capture this stone, there's still a ko-aji, and black can also just come out for now. And of course, black already got a lot of territory, a lot of points on the right side. And the bottom is still a ko. This move has some slight shape issue, but in any case, white is expanding. Consider when escaping, consider move that will limit our opponent's liberty. So for example, cutting here. This stone cannot survive directly, but now this creates more weaknesses. Now white can push through here, and now white can capture this stone. So when you're trying to sabaki, try to see if you can exploit some cut in your opponent's shape. That can often give you aji and give you sente move to escape. Okay, go back to the real game. Okay, so this move is definitely slow because this ko still exists. So black should definitely take first. Black can basically respond to any ko threat and just treat attacking the white group as ko threat because black is all alive. So it's very hard for white to compete and win this ko. So for example, black can keep attacking. White cannot tenuki at this point. Now black can take back the ko. Yeah, so this definitely just left let white off the hook. So the attack here is already a bit slow because the bottom group is already alive. Now if black doesn't do something, white is the one profiting because black now white got the ko in the bottom. So what white can capture. In fact, even black's bottom left group is not completely alive. So black has to either win the ko or continue to attack the center group. I think there's no reason to not hane here. Black has to keep up the pressure one way or another. So maybe hane once and then try to save this stone. Yeah, even after black played the 08 capture, black is much stronger in the center. So black should definitely use early investment to attack white. And notice if black can push through in the upper side, black has another strong attack against the upper group. If white has to rely on capturing here to live, then this will become another ko for black. Again, this is like the bottom side ko. It's a lot lighter for black than for white. Okay, so white responded, and we can see the game got a lot closer. This is a series of bad exchanges. I'm not super sure what compelled black to make these exchanges. Even without that, bumping will still be sente, basically, because it's not like black has to worry about this type of cut. Black can cut from here and kill the corner. So the bottom group will always be alive. And there's no reason, no rush for white to try to separate the e6 stone. So again, empty triangle. And you're also giving white extra capture, which makes sure white's shape is already alive. So here is a very interesting mistake. At this point, because black made the earlier exchange at c5, white doesn't have to respond to the block. Even turning is gote. because the other moves on the board is so pressing that losing, let's say, 15, 20 points on the side is really not a big deal. So now the thickness in the center has reversed. So white has initiative. And now these two stones are in danger. Even if white just capture these two, that'll be around 10 points. And now black's, all the potential is gone. So the game will be very different. So unfortunately in the game, white responded and lost a very good opportunity to even out the game. And same with this move too. This extension, the only thing it matters is the territory on the left. It doesn't concern life and death or thickness or aji. So in that type of situation where your move only concerns points and not life and death, aji, or thickness, take a pause. And maybe there's another move on the board that can give you improved security and thickness and also a good amount of points. So for example, right now, white's right side group is not settled yet. And the capture in the center is also very big. Or even capturing here. So white has a lot of weaknesses to worry about. So it's really not a good time to take points. Notice if black is very strong in the center, even capturing the K5 stone is not enough for white to live. If black capture, let's say white captures, black settles a ko here. There's only one eye on the side. So white really has to rely on the center to live. Now combine this with the fact that the right side is also not alive. This is a recipe for disaster later down the road. So white definitely has to take some precaution and fix these weaknesses as soon as possible. Yeah, and in fact, later in the game, that's how black was able to take control. White made a bad exchange. I think at this point, white just has to sacrifice the center part and capture this stone. Or maybe even tenuki this and save the right side group one way or another, either through cut or at least just jump out. This is a ko still, but white has low ko threats. So it's harder for black to win this ko. Okay, go back to the game. So in the game, white is a little bit too greedy here. Yeah, and especially this move. The right side is really in danger because there's no eyes on the side and it all relies on the center. Now that black even seals off the bottom, it's hard for white to connect to any group now. Yeah, so right now, definitely this is white's last chance. Yeah, and after this, black just kills the group. There are some complications here, but I think white's biggest mistake in this game is just to missing the most important part of the game and fix the weaknesses on the right and also in the bottom. After this, black just has control basically throughout the fight. Maybe white could have relied on some mistakes to live, but there's really no opportunity for white to regain initiative. Even in the top, this is still Gote, right? If white can make the judgment call to save the center first, at least a corner is a ko. And this type of ko, it still puts a little pressure on black. It will be different from the game situation where it's just white running around trying to find eyes. If white can try to gamble with the life and death of the corner group, this will be a much better situation. Because if white can capture the corner ko, this also puts some pressure on black because black's group is not completely alive. So maybe through this ko, white can also strengthen the center group. So I think that's the approach. Yeah, biggest problem for black is making these empty triangles and not coming, actually for both players, not focusing on the center thickness and life and death enough. Not sure if the players are here, and I'm happy to answer questions. Or we could transition to the last game. Okay, cool. Okay. Just switching screen. How would you better use this two-space enclosure? So As a rule of thumb, actually, the best way for black to deal with this is to leave it alone. Don't do anything. As soon as you try to protect it, strengthen it, do something with it, you're losing initiative. The two space extension, you want to focus on the side. So right now, black wants to build the right side. One way, maybe you play here. And if we back up a little bit, black has a weakness to take care of. So black should approach here and to take care of the bottom left group. And the way to use a corner is to make sure that whenever white tries to invade in the corner, it will conflict with the lower side. And what I mean by that is, let's say white try to attack the corner. This is just a very basic situation. Now you can see the lower side is damaged. Black can profit in the bottom. So even though black lost some in the corner, black can regain that by attacking the bottom. There are other possibilities. So for example, black can maybe Hane here. So this is actually a pretty common variation. So black just has to make sure, no matter what white does in the corner, if white chooses to profit in the corner, black can gain an equivalent amount on the outside. So that's why approaching at J3 is actually very important. Imagine white controls this area. Now white doesn't have to care about damaging the O3 stone anymore. In this situation, or let's say, even in this case, white doesn't have to care about O3 because the bottom is still alive. White is completely fine here. So by putting pressure to the bottom, this two space extension, this is actually the best way to protect the corner. Even in the game like this, you notice the Kasumi stone is very awkwardly placed. And later, white still has some annoying probes. If black answers everything, notice this is a set of good exchanges for white, and black only has 10 points. Maybe 12 points. So the efficiency becomes quite low. There are times where you can just defend, but it is typically much later in the game. Let's say move after move 100 or so. You don't want to just passively protect the corner. Yeah, I'll say defending here is actually a better move to protect the corner than the Kasumi in the game. It put pressure on white, which indirectly strengthens the corner. Maybe a little bit harder concept to understand, but just think about how to improve the efficiency of your stone. And if it's a little bit hard to control, then you don't have to play the two space extension. You could play, let's say, monkey jump, or this the Keima. These two moves will be very territory oriented, so I'll say easier to control. Yeah, hope that helps. Okay, toggle to the last game. Okay, this game is interesting. Okay, quick thing to note is this is early opening, definitely okay. But notice white's position on the right is pretty low. So white makes another extension. If white really wants to make an extension, I would strongly recommend a combination of a high and low. So fourth line versus and also third line. So definitely the Keima's better. And if you know a little more about AI, Joseki, and modern opening, you will know that the Tiger's Mouth is less common now because it puts less pressure on the white corner. So in this shape, white can Tenuki and take another big point. So white can just Tenuki right now. Black can do something here, but white can either Hane here or let's say this type of shape. So locally it's okay for black, but notice the right side is not very big. So white is happy to get Sente here. Hane is basically a similar story. Black will press white to the second line, get some get a wall, but the influence and the potential here is not very high because white is very solid on all fronts. Okay, so white came back here, which is fine. Black made some interesting choices here. Probably black still has to play the normal move. And another thing to note, this extension is also optional. Black can come back here. That's why the score estimate keep favoring the side that can get the final move in the upper left. This tiger's mouth shape is fairly flexible. You could remember the game between AlphaGo and Lee Sedol is also a similar shape. And I believe AlphaGo Tenuki after the tiger's mouth. It's just pretty flexible. So if there's a corner enclosure you can take that first. Okay, fast forward a little bit. Basically, black collapsed in the corner because the shape is bad. White could have just attacked the elephant eye, and black shape would be broken. In the game, it is even a little better because black's corner died. Yeah, it looks like a sacrifice, but it is not acceptable. Not acceptable for black because the corner is simply too big. And now there's not much territory on the side. As we remember from the first review, this type of territory is always smaller than it looks. This is barely 20 points, which is actually smaller than the corner. And remember, there's still the Hane Connect Aji, which leaves a clamp. So if black has to respond here, then white's side already increased by several points. If the left side is not completely black's territory, this is an interesting thing to remember. If the left side is not black's territory, then this Hane Connect will definitely be Gote because black's not trying to get the territory in this area. But if black has to rely on this territory, then white can pretty reliably get the Hane Connect in Sente, which is worth another close to 10 points. So by trying to get territory on the side, black is actually losing territory. Okay, so this is, I would say, a slight directional mistake. Looking at the whole board, black's moyo stems from the left side because that's where black's wall is. It's not on the bottom side. So white's jump here, the shape issue aside, it's just not in the right general direction. If white wants to play, white can start by, let's say, expanding the right side, which a jump will do. It also reduces the upper side. There's some weakness now. Black only has 2 stones in the corner. Or white can try to do a direct reduction. If white plays somewhere along the Tengen area, white has some help in this area, so this should be pretty safe. If white can make some exchanges, black is definitely not happy with this line of territory. I won't count because I would say it's a relatively simple case, but if you count territory a little bit, you would realize that white is comfortably ahead. The left side is just not big enough. Okay, so after this exchange, black has a fighting chance again because the left side moyo now combined with the upper side. Now black has two possibilities. White can get territory here or maybe in this area. And white can only reduce one side. So now white has to be more careful because if white tries to reduce, there's a risk of dying, which was unfortunately what happened in the game. Yeah, and another thing to note, at this point, white is pretty strong on the right side. So this came out only marginally gained another 10, even if you're very generous, 15 points. So I would argue white's better off actually Tenuki locally and make another reduction. So it doesn't really matter where. Just try to take Sente. It's much better to invade now than allowing black to take another move. Especially since this move by itself is not that big. Yeah, so here black made a slight directional mistake. Attacking this stone is big, but black's focus has to be in the center. So black should came out here and to threaten cutting this stone and continue to expand like this. When black came out here, black can Tenuki. Allowing black to capture this stone is not the end of the world. So this will be a flexible way of playing. And notice now, if black wants to get territory in the bottom, white can easily reduce the top. So this is what we can say anti-synergy. This territory and this territory and this territory all conflict with each other. Whereas if black can control this point, black will have synergy between the various thickness. Now the territory will become the same, will merge into one. Yeah, so at this point, white play a little bit heavy. Even got Gote here. White should definitely Atari here and then try to do something. Maybe Kosumi to reduce the center. White got a lot of Gote in this area, which allowed black to massively expand the center. Now at this point, the score estimate still favors white, but it's already pretty hard to control because white has to make the judgment call of how deep to invade and how much is enough. I didn't make a very careful count, but I think white should still start with the extension. This move is risky because if it can't survive, excuse me, white is effectively losing a stone inside black's territory. In a pinch, white can invade at this spot instead. With the Sente Hane Connect or Ta Hane Tiger's Mouth Aji, this is much easier for white to live. So for example, here at the very least there's a ko. So if white can find some ko thread in the center, this will become viable. Invading here prematurely eliminates those possibilities. Yeah, so we can think if white extends, what will happen? White can push a few times, and it'll probably be something like this. And the Aji is definitely pretty bad. So if white cuts, if black protects the center, then I think white can push through on this side. So black might have to extend. And now there's more Aji around here. So by starting on the side, we can create more Aji, and because this is where black's weaknesses are. And if black gives up too much, for example, in like this situation, white can already capture the center. This should be enough for white to win. There's a lot of points to count, so hopefully white will leave enough time to make the judgment call. So this is where we should really have to slow down and think not only about how to live, but how much is enough. I think white earlier was playing a little bit too passively, so now allow black to really swell the center. And now white probably makes some overplays and is not able to survive. Yeah, one strategy when fighting and trying to live is to find some attachment and find cutting points. So that this attachment will increase eye shape and also in the center and on the side. And there's a clear cutting point here. So these are the Aji that white should try to exploit. Yeah, it's possible black will try to sacrifice, but notice capturing these two stones is already very valuable. And now white can try to salvage some by attacking this side. For example, I think even in this simple example, black can probably save a good portion. So the goal of the invasion is not to save everything, but try to profit enough points. And the way to profit enough is not necessarily by making two eyes with the group. Maybe the group will die or half of it will die, but white can profit somewhere else. For example, if black just allow white to capture, then these two stones are already very valuable. White can get more points in the corner. And then white can try to see what else white can do on this side. So this will be the better way to play. Yeah, and actually white made lost the last chance to push through here. This is black's mistake. Black should have just connected. And after missing this push, white has no chance. The group just died. Yeah, I'm not sure why white didn't choose to play like this. This will be a really good chance to save the group. Yeah, this is notice there's liberty shortage, so black cannot cut there. Yeah, black probably has to extend, and yeah, this is an easy way for white to save the center. Capturing the upper two stones is not big, because white can keep reducing the center, or maybe turn. Yeah, notice this is small money. It's only about 10 points, but white can already reduce most of the center. So this will definitely be a success. Yeah, I think summarizing this game, white got an massive early advantage. But in the mid game, white wasn't able to simplify the game enough. So black has a fighting chance by getting a pretty big moat in the center. And white couldn't make a good judgment call on how to do a lighter reduction and decide to invade very deep, and in the end wasn't able to survive. So this is, I think, pretty much everyone will experience this at some point. We have a opening lead that's very substantial, but we couldn't finish the deal and allow our opponent to complicate the game. So in that case, we just have to think about ways to simplify it and always stay in control. So white's biggest problem was to not focusing on the center enough, because capturing the corner was such a massive territory advantage that through normal means, there's no way for black to make up that deficit already. So white's focus here should be to reduce the center influence. It's not about the corner territory. Like, white has no business playing moves like this or even protecting the side, because white already gained, let's say, 30, 35 points in the upper left in terms of territory. So black's only thing left is the center potential. So if white can just reduce that by a little bit, make sure it doesn't get out of control, white will be comfortably ahead. So you can see white 25 points ahead. That's a very, very substantial margin. So even if white just reduce something like this, as long as white can make a little bit of inroad to the center, black will be losing by a lot. Yeah, I think even this move, let's say black gets everything. I'm pretty sure this will be a comfortable white victory, because white has the entire right side as well. And of course, I think white can do slightly better than this. Yeah, so this game is really mostly revolves on judgment. And not as much reading, I would say. There are always chances so that your opponent can make a mistake, but white just already lost out on the easy chances to win. Okay, with that, I'll wrap up the review for this week. Thank you all for your attention. If there's any question, I'm happy to go back to other games as well. Okay, looks like that will be it for this week. Thank you all again for your attention.